Hi, this is Moviedio channel, and it's all about movies. Today I'm going to describe Bubble Boy, a film from the United States. There will be spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and be cautious. Jimmy Livingston, a little boy, is born with no immunity. He can be killed by even the tiniest germ, thus he must be kept in isolation. He can't touch anything without contaminating it. To survive, he will have to spend his entire existence within a bubble-like plastic sphere. Mrs. Livingston, his mother, is too protective of her son. He wasn't even permitted to come home until he was 4 years old. She and Mr. Livingston, on the other hand, bring the little boy home in his bubble after he turns 4. His room, too, has a large bubble that he may move through. His parents can use the protruding hands on the bubble to touch him. All of his toys are decontaminated and preserved inside the bubble, free of even the tiniest bacteria. Since then, Jimmy has been residing in that room. Mrs. Livingston doesn't want him to leave the bubble, thus all of the bedtime stories finish with the princess dying because they were allowed out. Mrs. Livingston insists that he only watch one station and read one magazine, because they are the only ones ever manufactured. She also cuts his hair and hugs her son with her protruding arms. Mrs. Livingston is a staunch patriot who only teaches Jimmy what she considers to be reasonable and pushes her beliefs on him. Jimmy, on the other hand, doesn't know any better and goes along with it. The distinctive Bubble Boy is well known around the city, but this does not work in his favor. Instead, the neighborhood youngsters wrap themselves in plastic wrap and mock Jimmy outside his house, which Mrs. Livingston regularly chases away. Jimmy only eats home-cooked meals. Mrs. Livingston's food has been placed in a plastic tube with a decontamination system to eliminate the germs before Jimmy can retrieve it. Jimmy has reached the age of 16. He describes how he grew up like any other kid, and how delighted he is to receive an electric guitar instead of a car. Until one day he is looking out his window when he notices Chloe, a new girl his age, come into his neighborhood. He has grown to like the girl, but he is unable to stop her. More importantly, he has no experience with love or girls. His mother detects his attraction and tells Jimmy the story of a boy who died after touching the next-door whore. Jimmy keeps a close eye on Chloe via his windows for the following few years, and she notices he is monitoring her. He tells that he is aware that something is wrong with him, but he is unsure what it is. He is terrified when he wakes up one morning with an erection. He beats himself with a bat, cries, and calls his mother, completely unaware of the notion. Mrs. Livingston enters and forces him to repeat the vow of loyalty until he relaxes. Jimmy is mocked by Chloe's popular friends, who refer to him as the Bubble Boy. She appears to be on the defensive when it comes to him. She knocks on the Livingston's door one day, and Mr. Livingston welcomes her in. She is enthralled with the system of plastic tubes that runs throughout the house. She gets to Jimmy's room by following the tube. Jimmy is taken aback and apprehensive because his mother is the first woman he has spoken to. Chloe approaches him and expresses her admiration for his guitar. Jimmy tries to teach her how to play the instrument with her protruding hands. In the middle of it, he begins reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. They've been hanging out together every day since that day. Mrs. Livingston dislikes their friendship but is powerless to stop it. Following that is a montage of them spending time together. For his birthday, she gifts him a guinea pig in a ball, and for Halloween, she brings kids into his room. An intoxicated Chloe slips into Jimmy's room through the windows one night on her birthday. She tries to enter the bubble, claiming she can no longer remain away from him. She passes out, though, before she can enter. Chloe's prom night is depicted in the scene. Jimmy is distraught when her sleazy boyfriend, Mark, arrives to pick her up. Jimmy is offered a cigarette by Mark, but he has no idea what it is. Jimmy notices Mark and Chloe through his windows one night. Chloe walks into Jimmy's room the next day and shows him her engagement ring. Mark had proposed to her and she had accepted. She has come to inform Jimmy that their wedding is this weekend at Niagara Falls. Jimmy is dissatisfied, but he doesn't show it. She also bought him a present, which she keeps hidden within his decontamination tube, but Jimmy dismisses it. Instead, he returns the guinea pig to her and tells her to leave. With tears in her eyes, Chloe walks away. Jimmy later opens the gift and discovers that it is a snow globe with the words "I love you" written inside. He screams her name, surprised, and decides to go to Niagara Falls to put an end to the wedding. He works tirelessly to create a portable bubble shield, and he succeeds. Then, without his parents' knowledge, he sneaks out of the house. Jimmy is overjoyed to be jogging for the first time, so he walks over to the bus station and asks for a bus ticket. Jimmy, on the other hand, has failed to bring any cash. He tries to cross the road, distressed, when he gets hit by a bus. He flies to the ground, but is saved by his bubble. The passengers on the bus emerge and offer him a ride. Jimmy takes it cheerfully, but he soon discovers that the others are members of a religious cult. They yell at him and throw him off the bus when he points it out. When the cult group arrives at their destination, their leader proclaims a round guy inside a globe to be God's rescuer. The group understands Jimmy was their savior and sets out to find him and rescue him from the globe. Meanwhile, Jimmy encounters Slim, a biker. Jimmy informs him that his lifelong love has married someone else. Slim is impressed, so he tells him about his previous lover, Wildfire, whom he still loves. He then gives Jimmy a ride, and the two of them travel to Niagara Falls together. Mrs. Livingston is alarmed when she discovers Jimmy is absent at home. Mrs. Livingston and her husband set out to find Jimmy because the police would not do anything until 24 hours had passed since his disappeared. Slim and Jimmy, on the other hand, arrive at Vegas and take a break. They had a great time at a casino, but Jimmy only has 2 days to prepare for the wedding. As a result, he abandons Slim in the club, grabs a scooter, and flees on it. After a short distance, Jimmy comes upon his parents' car, which attempts to stop him from fleeing. Jimmy causes a mishap because he is in a rush. His bubble, thankfully, bounces him into a running train. He manages to flee his mother, but he is now stranded on a train with freak show performers. Drive Freak, a freak supervisor, keeps them imprisoned and utilizes them in his freak show, the freaks tell him. Dr. Freak, who happens to be a dwarf, meets Jimmy. With his bubble, he accidentally knocks the man to the ground, freeing the other freaks. After that, he continues on his journey to Niagara Falls. He can no longer ride a scooter, so he goes to a restaurant and asks for a ride. A group of police officers bullies a man named Push Pop there. They presume Jimmy has a contagious sickness when he informs them he has no immunity and flee the scene. In the midst of the turmoil, the restaurant catches fire, and Push Pop gives Jimmy a ride. In addition, he agrees to take him to the Niagara Falls. Mrs. Livingston contacts Dr. Freak, who informs her that Jimmy is leaving for Niagara Falls. She confronts Chloe, yelling at her for causing Jimmy to flee. Outside, the freaks steal her car as she speaks with Dr. Freak. On their trip, Push Pop and Jimmy come upon a cow in the middle of the road. Push Pop is upset since cows are a sign of God in his religion, but Jimmy, following his mother's advice, tells him that his religion is untrue. Push Pop is offended by this, so he abandons Jimmy. Jimmy eventually makes it to New York, where he asks an old man named Pippi for a ride, which he gladly accepts. The man is still driving the automobile when Jimmy wakes up the next morning. When Jimmy knows Pippi is dead, the automobile crashes into a billboard. Jimmy enters a grocery shop and calls Chloe's number. Mark answers the phone and tells Jimmy to hang up since he is getting married to Chloe in 1 hour. He phones his mother and wants her to come take him up because he is now hopeless. Both of his parents arrive at his house and help him into the car. Mr. Livingston asks Jimmy how it feels to be outside for the first time as Mrs. Livingston walks to the restroom. The tie between a father and his son. Mr. Livingston advises Jimmy not to give up without a fight. Jimmy runs to stop the wedding after hearing his comments. Mrs. Livingston notices this and drives after him. At the same time, the cult gang tracks Jimmy down and begins following him. Slim arrives with his biker mates to help Jimmy as well. Mrs. Livingston, who happens to be his old love affair, locks eyes with Slim. They're all driving on a plane's runway, it turns out. A plane takes off, and Jimmy boards behind an elderly pilot. They take an aircraft to Niagara Falls, but the plane crashes, causing Jimmy to tumble down the falls. Thankfully, his bubble keeps him from drowning. He gets out of the water and makes his way to the wedding in a hurry. Chloe and Mark are taking wedding vows at the chapel when Jimmy walks in and declares his love for her. Because he realizes this is his last chance to persuade Chloe, he risks his life by ripping his bubble open to kiss her. However, he passes out shortly afterward. Mr. and Mrs. Livingston come as Chloe tries to wake him up. When Mr. Livingston urges Mrs. Livingston to tell everyone the truth about her son's death, she laments his death. Mrs. Livingston sheepishly confesses that Jimmy is perfectly healthy, and he abruptly awakens. It turns out that she had been lying to him all these years in order to keep him safe from the dangers of the world. Jimmy is taken aback, but forgives his mother after learning that she did it to protect him. As everyone claps, he finally embraces Chloe. Now fast forward a few months. Chloe and Jimmy are tying the knot. Everyone he met along the way is attending the wedding. Slim, Mr. Livingston, and Mrs. Livingston have formed a throuple. Jimmy and Chloe drive away in a car to their honeymoon at the end of the film. To support the channel, subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like. Thank you for watching.